My name's TJ Garland. I am an actor, local here to Atlanta, as well as a local 479 boom operator. I do sound to pretty much pay the bills, if you will, and then in between doing sound jobs, I am with Privileged Talent. They're a great agency here in Atlanta, and I audition and try and book roles. That's my passion, and yeah, I've so far been fortunate enough to get a few roles on some shows on the ID channel, like Swamp Murders, Your Worst Nightmare. Let's see, Homicide Hunter. Snapped Killer Couples, a whole bunch of them. So.
Tell me about Project ISIS X. You're not only were an actor in it, but were you also a consultant?
With Project ISIS X, I had no idea that we didn't really have any military advisors on board with it. And it was an indie film, you know, at its best. And like most indie films, a lot of people have to do several different jobs. And when I got cast as the squad leader of this team, I had no idea that we didn't have, you know, a military advisor or somebody to teach drills to anybody, or I didn't even know we were going to have a cast who had no military experience. And so in the midst of figuring all this stuff out, I decided to run a few, you know, training scenarios through my team to make sure it just looked authentic and real, because Richard, he was busy doing other things that a director does, and I guess he had the confidence and just let me take the reins on that. You know, it's like in Evil Dead. There's such a small crew, and that the crew was also the cast. You know, Bruce Campbell was also, you know, setting up lights and set decking, and they were doing makeup on each other. I mean, with these kind of films, you can only do so much with such a low budget, so everybody will pick up several different jobs. And that's what's great about indie films is, you know, you're a much closer knit family than with like bigger budget productions. And so with Project ISIS X, it felt the same way, you know.
So you essentially were kind of like the real life leader, so everybody was probably able to take on the roles as if following your...
It felt that way. I mean, it felt like everybody was kind of looking to me to lead the team in a way. There were certain scenarios that we played out in missions or whatever that Richard just all of a sudden, that was my thing. He'd be like, all right, so go ahead and do your thing. Teach the guys, you know, how you would go about doing this and whatnot, and I would do it for the DP and stuff, and they'd be like, all right, so if you did it for like this, you know, how would you do that? And then we'd adjust it for camera, and yeah, and Richard, he's a military guy, so it felt good that he just had the confidence to let me do my own thing and work with the people on it. So
very cool. But tell us about Batman Retribution.
Batman Retribution is my first film that I wrote, direct, produced, and acted in. Like, I guess just as a whole, is my first time doing a lot of those things. And it was tedious because I wanted it to be a good film, you know, and done right. And, you know, if you want something, you can have a film that is either good but fast and not cheap, or you can have a film that's good, it's not cheap, it's not going to be fast, you know. And so with this, I took my time on it, and I was in pre-production for like 2 years. I started it when I was still going to school, and then we finally started shooting it like half a year after I was graduated my school, and then I started working gigs, and I pulled my crew from several different talented filmmakers local to here in Atlanta. Mike Michaels was our head of the makeup department, who was doing Vampire Diaries. He's done Taken, he's done Baby Driver recently. He did Stranger Things. He's just really brilliant makeup artist. who took that on board, as well as Matt Silva working with him. Matt Silva's done stuff on Walking Dead. I had Keith Brooks as my first AD, who's also the first AD for a Star Trek fan film. He's also acted on Walking Dead himself, as well as Stranger Things. And, got so many talented people. We've had, there's so many names involved. Josh Gary, who's a great DP. I mean, he's won so many awards just doing student films, like before even getting out of college. Now he does DPing for so many industrial things, commercials and whatnot. The guy just gets so much work. And we all just came together for zero budget, and I felt blessed because I was able to pull in such a great, big, talented pool of people to work on this film, and they all felt just as passionate about it. And they trusted me, and even after it was done, we shot this thing in one day. It is about a 12 or 13 hour day, and it had stunts in it, it had just blood in it.
You had a wall, right?
We had a breakaway wall, and we only had 2 of them made, and we got it on the first take because the second time was a bust, which is crazy scary. But yeah, and then it took like 2 years to get it done, like in post, because we had to write the score to it and everything. And the way I wanted to do the score on it was incorporate at the very end the original like Danny Elfman score, of the Batman theme, because I'm a huge '89 fan. I want to pay homage to that, and the suit was a full replica of Keaton's '89 suit.
Who you got to meet at one point.
Yeah, I got to meet Michael Keaton at one point, and I was ready to I could die today now. I'm happy, it's fine. But yeah, the post process, getting it color corrected, I didn't want just anybody doing it. I took it, everything was done at a professional level. Left me at 13 grand in debt, but it was worth every penny of it, because everybody who watches it says it was a great film and they wish they could see more Batman. But that's what I wanted to do. It was supposed to create interest and gain more investors to see the bigger story. There's a bigger script out there for Batman Retribution. That was the first opening scene. That was supposed to be the opening credits. And there's an entire 30 minutes left that we haven't shot. It's a great story, and hopefully one day maybe somebody will give me $100 grand to do it.
And there's a whole generation that doesn't even know about the Keaton version, which could be interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like, in a way, it's coming back though, because Michael Keaton's coming back, and everybody's going, wait a minute, this guy was an awesome Batman, and remembering all that, and also, just a little quick side note for fans, hardcore fans, Kevin Smith he wrote for Batman Comics at one point in time, and he did a series called Cacophony. That scene for Batman Retribution is directly out of that comic book, because I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan as well, and I love that comic book, and I wanted to do like a live film adaptation of that as the opening scene to set the tone for what this film would have been. Since we ran out of money, didn't gain a lot of investors, we were like, screw it, it's great as it is, we're going to put it out like that. So that's the story of Batman Retribution.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, man.
Can't wait to see you.